over here to the Chevy pickup, or the crawler, or I keep calling it the crawler, it's more of an off-road truck. But we're gonna walk over here. We got 7-inch long shackles. And what I'll do is I'll show you exactly what happens when we let this down. As you can see right now, with it at droop, the shackle's a little bit forward. There's plenty of clearance right here. So herein lies the problem that we're currently having. These are the stock shackles, which is just fine. They were great for mock-up and getting angles and that sort of deal. But as you can see, the leaf spring is resting on the frame, so we are shackle bound. So that's why we got 7-inch long shackles. It should bring this angle back here. It'll probably, we're gonna definitely flex more in the front suspension. It's gonna settle down more because right now we are bound up. The shackle wants to move back. It won't allow it because the springs hit the frame. So with the 7-inch shackles, it'll come down, it'll come back more, and we'll come closer to our 45-degree angle. We're probably 30 right now. And then the front will be down a little lower. Now that we got it sitting on the ground and the weight on it, you can kind of see the front's already lower than the rear, and it's fairly tall. I mean, we're probably 4 inches higher. We're more than 4 inches higher than what it was originally right now. But as you see the rear, it's definitely tall. So I was a little worried about the 63-inch leaf spring swap up until the point when I first put it on the ground. Now I'm not. I'm a little worried about the front being low, but the rear, we can put some weight in it. We're gonna have a bed on there, not like a regular normal bed. We're gonna build a flat bed, I guess tube bed for it. We did have the LS on here, and it does sag it a bit, especially the transmission transfer case combination. That's why I left the 203 together, is keep it kind of as close to the weight of what the 203, 205 doubler is going to be as it could. But that's basically what you see. It's on the ground now. The rear is on what I would call ride height or whatever. I mean, it's where it is right now with the weight that there is. We still got to do fine tuning on shackle angles and some mounts after we get the rest of the weight on it. But until then, we're just going to kind of go with this finger tight. Once we get it the rest of the way mocked up, get the engine transmission set in, the rest of the way we'll get the cab set on it, and then we'll figure out where the front's going to be, and then we're going to figure out whether we have to lift it more in the front. Right here, if it stayed at this height, which it isn't going to, we would clear the fenders, I think, without a problem. The front end's forward 3 inches more than what it was, so I think we cleared the back of the cab is the only bad part. The front, where the fender well comes down here and it flattens off, we're going to trim it up. And so we really aren't worried about the tires hitting the front of the fender. It's more the place where we can't move it, which is the firewall back here. But I think the firewall is somewhere probably right in this area, so we should have quite a bit of room. We want to keep this thing as low as possible, keep the center of gravity low. We want it to flex, tuck, and droop as much as possible. I'm not a big fan of just having droop and no tuck. I think it should. Yeah, I don't know if that's right or not, but I like it that way. I've seen a lot of trucks that are almost on the bump stops at ride height, and it doesn't tuck very far at all, but it droops a long ways, which is, I don't know, I assume that's good. I mean, there's a lot of stuff built that way. I don't know. I don't know how to build rock crawlers. I don't know how to build off-road trucks, but I do what I figure is going to work, and we'll see. If it ain't going to work, if it doesn't work, I'll change it. And that's kind of the philosophy. We just kind of go along with it and do what we're going to do. It's, I guess, the fun way of doing it. We tinker along, and if it ain't right, then we make something different. But for right now, we'll see how it goes. The Suburban frame is running a long ways without cross members, so we are going to brace this thing up before we get too crazy on it as well. And we may do version 2, 3, 4, 5, 27, 6 million, who knows. But for right now, I mean, we've got a bunch of Suburban frames. It's not hard to modify them. I mean, I've got probably 2 solid days worth of work getting it to this point. with 63s, 52s. We're in mock-up, that sort of deal. So it's not a lot. It's not a crazy amount of work, I guess. And on your definition of crazy, hell, who knows? But we can always replace the frame. We can do something different. We can build something different way. I know the Suburbans, they don't flex a lot because they got a body that supports it. And our new rear cab mounts, which is a crazy part about a Suburban frame truck, crew cab, the back of the cab mounts are right here. So the back of the cab is actually right here, which builds you kind of a really interesting little setup. As you see the mounts right there, you know, it was really close, like the axle was really close to the back of the cab before. Now we moved it back 6 inches, but with 37-inch tall tires, it still looks pretty close. But the nice part about the Suburban frame is it has a whole bunch of tail to it, so we got plenty of room to do the 63-inch springs. I had the crew cab sitting on a regular cab long bed 1-ton frame, and this kick up right here, where it comes up right here, it does it, and it should do it. But on the regular cab frame, it's way early. Like it's up here, and so this frame is really tall on these back mounts, and it's too tall. And so basically, you're sitting on the back mounts here, and you got to put 4 inches in the rest of it to, you know, get the cab up, which is all right ish. I mean, I'm not a giant fan of body lifts because we are going to be flexing this thing, and the body does offer stability to the cab, and the cab offers stability to the frame. So when you start getting up there in body lifts, especially on like off-road vehicles that you are going to be flexing, it's a whole lot of torsional force. That's a big word for the day. And it was just too much. I think it would have looked cool. I think it would have been neat. But short of redoing all the body mounts, rebracing all the frame, I don't know, I'm doing the same thing anyways, but whatever. Short of doing a whole bunch of modifications, we looked at lengthening the frame under the cab to put the rear mount where it should be, and just adding, I don't know, like 16 inches or whatever it is to the frame underneath the cab so it comes out right. But then what I'm doing is I'm building a crew cab frame, and I've already got a few of them. And the reason why I'm doing this is I don't want to cut up a crew cab frame. You know, there's guys that are building trucks that are nice trucks and good trucks, and I'm building this out of a bunch of bad parts. You know, I got a really bad cab. I mean, it's not rusty, but it had a trailer jackknifed into it real bad. It's ugly. Well, before the battery ran out, I was talking about the truck, and we're building it out of parts that are basically spare parts, stuff I didn't really want to sell. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in here that could be sold. But like I was saying, you know, the cab we're putting on this thing is bent up. It's had a trailer jackknifed into it. It's not rusty, but I mean, not very rusty, but it's had some damage. And so it needs some work, but I didn't want a perfect cab on this, just in case, you know, we are going to cut the rockers out of it to make rock sliders. We are going to, you know, do some modifications to it. If I hurt it, I don't want to feel bad if, you know, bad like if I had a nice one. I mean, nice ones can be built into really nice trucks. The cab we're building this with is not a good cab, but we have a handful of frames that I've gotten out of trucks that we've parted down or, you know, bought or whatever from everybody else's project. So I don't want to cut up a crew cab frame, because somebody could build a really good crew cab out of a crew cab frame, at least to accomplish what I wanted to do. I wanted to keep as short of a truck as possible. I really didn't want anything longer, overall length, than a long bed Chevy pickup. I figured that would, when I looked at my life, or looked at the objectiveness, when I looked at what I wanted to accomplish with this project, I wanted a truck that was short enough to be able to turn around on most roads. And the longest truck I could think that would be, you know, reasonable or acceptable amount of convenience to turn around on most roads is a long bed pickup, regular cab. So a Suburban is just slightly longer in the overhang than a long bed. The wheelbase is comparable, it's a touch shorter, but now we are back in, I think, the 131-inch wheelbase or something like that range right now. We might even be just a touch longer than that. I haven't measured it. But so this is going to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. I was a little concerned about going with a half-ton, three-quarter-ton frame, but we'll see how it works. If it doesn't work, we'll scrap this frame and build it out of a 1-ton frame. I've got a handful of 1-ton pickups, and we can build something. But I'm not going to take a crew cab frame that's a nice frame and cut it up, just because, you know, I think something good can be built out of it. You know, what we're building here is something that's going to be abused, so let's build it out of stuff that I'm not going to cry about when it gets hurt. Well, that's my 2 cents for tonight, and it's a good walkthrough of the shop. We got a mess, but I was going to clean it up. And I'll do a little update when we start doing some spring bushings and stuff like that. You guys love to see that one. I'm gonna go over there. I'm gonna go find some dinner, and once I get some dinner, I'm gonna see what I'm gonna do. But I really don't feel like being in the shop tonight for what I got going. It's cold. It's not cold. We got the heater running. You can hear that one. It's cold outside. It's probably 30 degrees out there, maybe. So the heater's running a bunch. There's no point in running the heater. If I do this work during the day, then we're heating the shop because we got to heat the shop anyways, and it's a little more efficient. You know, I mean, we're in the recycling business, so, you know, I try and not waste stuff. I try and not, you know, we try and conserve stuff. We heat the place on used oil, and that's great. And so we try and conserve the used oil as much as possible. I don't really want to be the only one in the shop. So I wait till days where, well, work days, and I try and steal some time throughout the day when the heater's running anyways, and try and be as efficient as possible. So I guess that's it for today. Thank you for watching.